Hello, and welcome to Arizona Cat's Eye, a news magazine produced by students at the University of Arizona School of Journalism. I'm Bria Fontino.
And I'm Carmen Valencia.
Republican Arizona House Representative Travis Grantham proposed a bill that would allow stun guns, tasers, knives, and mace on university campuses. On March 8th, the Senate approved a bill that would revoke the Arizona Board of Regents' current policy and give students, faculty, and others more self-defense options against potential attackers. The University of Arizona Police Department's information officer, Renee Hernandez, says that the new policies and violations will be enforced by UAPD.
We obviously depend on our lawmakers and our legislators to do what's best for the community and society.
The UA campus is currently a weapons-free zone. Next, the bill will go to Arizona Governor Doug Ducey for approval. No date has been set.
The University of Arizona says it wants to be more proactive when it comes to sexual harassment training for faculty. The U of A requires all 11,000 employees and students to complete training on how to prevent sexual misconduct. The training is a 35-minute presentation that includes a slideshow, pictures, video examples, and short quizzes. UA Director of the School of Journalism, Dave Coulier, says that this type of training has been around long before the recent national conversation of sexual harassment and assault.
That's just great training because when students go out and get jobs, they're going to be expected to act appropriately in the workplace. And we want Wildcats to succeed and not get fired or not hurt people.
The training instructs faculty and staff members how to avoid from engaging in inappropriate interactions and offers information about what to do if they observe or hear about inappropriate conduct.
Incoming public university students in Arizona will pay more money starting this fall. On April 5th, the Arizona Board of Regents approved increasing tuition, fees, and housing rates at all 3 state public universities. The UA is implementing a 1.8% increase in tuition for all in-state undergraduate students in the fall.
Obviously, as students, we're never really for an increase in tuition. We don't want to be paying more for higher education, but when we are, it's important to us that the money is getting invested into things that are important to us as students, and that that money is being invested in the students that are paying that extra increase in tuition.
The increased revenue will contribute to counseling and psychological services for students as well as raises for faculty members.
The Tucson Community Food Bank spends every day sorting food, filling carts, and pushing them into a line ready to wheel to those in need. The food bank spans across 5 counties in southern Arizona, reaching people living in more than 20,000 square miles. Food bank records indicate that in 2016, 41 million pounds of food were distributed, along with 47 million servings of fruit and veggies. The food bank says their efforts would not be possible without volunteers. These volunteers donate over 100,000 hours of their time every year. Volunteer A.K. Kumar says that this job taught him about teamwork.
The biggest thing I've learned here is that we're all interdependent human beings. We need each other. No man is an island. And it's like, you're serving God through the work that you do.
In southern Arizona, around 15% of residents are food insecure.
Around 1,700 people are homeless in Tucson. That's according to the 2016 homeless street count. The Tucson Change Movement collects proceeds from donation meters scattered all around the city. Money received will reach a number of support groups for the homeless in Tucson. Hope and Glory Ministries chairperson Betty Bitgood discusses how the meters are benefiting those in need.
Goes to homeless projects in town, and the main one is the work program that Councilman Fimbres has also spearheaded with Old Pueblo Community Services and the shelters, and it's a great program.
The Tucson Change Movement is hoping that with the colorful meters, members of the community will be more inclined to donate.
A mobile monument is helping people around the country honor and remember fallen Vietnam veterans, and one of the traveling monument stops is here in Tucson. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Leonard Moody has more on the story.
Welcome to the Wall That Heals, a traveling Vietnam memorial that visits communities across the nation. This year, Oro Valley, Arizona was one of the communities out of the 132 applicants. It is a 75% scale replica of the National Monument in Washington, D.C., and has all of the approximate 58,000 names of the soldiers who died during the war.
Different people have different reasons for visiting the memorial. Daniel Larkham, whose uncle was unfortunately unable to return home and has his name on the wall, talks about what brings her and her family.
I'm passing on my family's legacy in so many different ways, and this is just one way to really teach them about the importance of honoring our fallen soldiers, our heroes, and our fallen family members.
The program started the Veterans Memorial Fund, the same nonprofit organization that built the wall in Washington, D.C., recognizing that not all Americans can make it to the nation's capital. There is more to see at the traveling memorial than just the wall itself.
Our 53-foot trailer just doesn't hold the wall. It opens up to become a traveling museum. Those traveling panels help show people some of the 400,000 items that have been left behind by Americans at the wall. It also helps us to have screens that help people understand who the people were that served and sacrificed.
Behind the artifacts on display in the trailer are touching stories like those of Charles L. Stewart Jr. Stewart's mom sent a care package of cookies and Kool-Aids to the soldier, but he never got it because he was killed in action. So it was then sent back to his mother, and she locked it away.
Over 20 years later, a really good friend of his took out the care package, brought it to the wall in D.C. and said, "Mom and Dad wanted you to have these cookies and Kool-Aid. It's time you finally got them." And he left that at the wall in D.C. for his really good friend.
The memorial continues to allow people to learn about and honor Vietnam's fallen heroes. The wall will be visiting 38 communities across the country in 2018. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Leonard Moody.
Coming up next, we head down to the U.S.-Mexico border. We tell you how one Southern California group of volunteers is helping migrant families in Arizona. Plus, we'll introduce you to some East Coast students who are taking a trek through the Arizona Sonoran Desert.
I graduated from the University of Arizona Journalism School a year ago, and while at the J School, I was part of Arizona Cat's Eye, and my professor, Lorraine Rivetta, was my gateway into Arizona public media. Cat's Eye definitely prepared me on multiple levels. I mean, picking up a camera, getting used to it, editing, putting things together, and it's one of those things where until you do it, do you really learn how things need to be done properly. And I mean, you're going to make tons of mistakes, whether it's leaving your batteries behind or not charging your batteries or not clicking record or not white balancing your camera. Through Cat's Eye, I was able to learn through those mistakes and better prepare myself for where I am now. The classroom setting, like, it will teach you, you know, the basics and stuff, but until you're out there, and it sounds bad, until you're out there making the mistakes and learning from it, then will you become, you know, really good at it.
The School of Journalism began in 1951, and it has been preparing students to cover local, national, and international issues. One way the school does this is by inviting professional journalists to speak with students. Dorn has worked in Hollywood as a film director and cameraman. In addition to Hollywood, Dorn has traveled around the world working with fashion photo shoots. Dorn teaches students about the importance of lighting in professional videos and photos by giving students hands-on experience with professional equipment.
Sometimes it's just by remaining silent, because sometimes we feel the urge to...
Valeria Fernandez, an independent journalist from Uruguay, currently living in Phoenix, visited the school to teach students different ways to approach an interview. She also informed students of her experience with Arizona's immigrant communities and reporting on the U.S.-Mexico borderlands. For more information about upcoming events, visit the School of Journalism website.
In the last decade of the 20th century, on average, 12 people a year died in the desert. So far this century, the number has increased to more than 150 people a year. That's according to the Colibri Center for Human Rights. I traveled to Southern California to follow this group that's helping migrant families. More than 300 miles away from the Arizona desert, on the Pacific coast, a group of volunteers is working hard to help pay for an upcoming trip. The group is called Los Armadillos, after the desert animal with the hard shell.
Mi nombre es César Ortigosa. Mis papás son originarios de Puebla, México. Yo nací en la Ciudad de México y me vine para acá cuando tenía 15 años.
My name is Luis Osuna. I was born in Tijuana, Mexico. And I came to the United States with my family in 2001.
Mi nombre es Alex Ortigosa y estamos aquí colectando fondos. Yo hago construcción, hago carpintería, que tenemos esa conciencia, ¿no? De que si nosotros no lo hacemos, pues Armadillo no podría hacer este tipo de trabajo. Yo lo hago primero porque soy migrante y estoy consciente de todo lo que está pasando ahorita, ¿verdad? Realmente para mí el no hacer esto sería algo muy hipócrita de mi parte, ¿verdad?
Brotherhood, friendship, the need to help others are the foundation of Los Armadillos. At least twice a month, these men and women start their search and rescue in Ajo, Arizona.
Armadillos nace a raíz de la necesidad, ¿no? Que hay adentro del desierto para buscar a las familias de tanta gente que nos llama.
Cultural groups like these are part of a community-wide effort to support Los Armadillos.
Me llamo Grecia Adriana Rivas y nosotros somos un grupo de danza azteca mexica.
Rivas says that she sees the Armadillos as heroes.
Se necesita mucho valor y mucha valentía para poder hacer lo que ellos hacen y pues ayudar a nuestros hermanos.
The brothers and sisters Rivas refers to are those migrants who've died in the desert. Helping those migrants is a journey in and of itself.
Salimos básicamente de aquí, de la ciudad de San Diego, alrededor de las 6, 7 de la noche, en los viernes, para llegar a la ciudad de Ajo alrededor de las 2, 3 de la mañana. Dormimos 2 o 3 horas y alrededor de las 5 de la mañana nos tenemos que levantar para empezar a manejar otro poquito más y empezar a hacer nuestras búsquedas alrededor de las 6 de la mañana. 15 tortas, cada quien que se lleve de a una. Ajá. Aquí nos jalamos un poco hacia arriba. Y ahí es donde se esconde la gente.
Ok, entonces nos vamos a...
Bajando aquí. Ahí bajando, nos alineamos y empezamos a caminar hacia donde está la brecha.
¿Tanque de agua? Ahí
sí,
nos alineamos.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Y llevar a cabo esta obra, Señor, en honor a las...
And when I'm out there, all I can think about is to keep me going when I'm really tired. All I can think about is love. The love for people that I've never met and I probably will never meet. But, you know, that inspires me to write and paint and anything I can do to express that love other than being in the desert. I honestly think that this walking makes me feel the most human I've ever felt.
The group begins its trek in what is considered one of the most dangerous areas in Ajo, El Cañón del Diablo, which means Devil's Canyon.
Toda esta corrupción y todas estas muertes, porque realmente no es ni la Barda ni el Río Bravo, es el gobierno de México y de nuestros países hermanos los que están matando a toda esta gente.
Yo estoy tranquilo porque al fin de cuentas.
During a break, the group gathers as Fernando, one of the volunteers, sings, after coming across the remains of a 1-year-old baby. GPS coordinates are then recorded and sent to the Pima County Sheriff's Department in Ajo with the goal of matching DNA samples that are already in the database. This map, created by the nonprofit organization Humane Borders, shows how many people have died in the Arizona desert over the past 3.5 decades. The group chose its name because Armadillos never take a step back.
Básicamente hacemos nosotros, ¿no? Cada vez que agarramos un reporte, pues tratamos de cumplir con él, ¿no? De salir lo más pronto posible y si es posible, pues de ir hacia enfrente hasta encontrar a esta persona. Es muy difícil y sí a veces uno se puede pensar qué fue lo que pasó con esta persona, qué fue lo que pensó en sus últimos minutos de vida.
Los Armadillos raised about $6,000 in donation at its fundraiser. Cesar Ortigosa says that the next step for the group is to become a nonprofit organization so that it can increase its fundraising efforts.
100 miles east of Tucson, in a small border town, children and adults from 2 different countries are uniting through music. In Naco, Sonora, just 500 feet away from the port of entry, U.S. musicians are teaching students just south of the border. It's part of a program called Studio Mariposa, and Luis Gonzalez says that Studio's volunteers teach more than music.
Porque así aprendo inglés y pues me puedo comunicar con Gretchen y pues me gusta el arte para pintar.
Lo hice es una herradura y le puse esto pues para ver que se vea más maquera.
All of the instruments for the project are donated. Director Gretchen Bayer says that her goal is to continue to teach valuable lessons to every child who walks in the studio.
The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office has recorded 3,000 migrant deaths in southern Arizona since 2000. I followed one man who honors those who have died in the desert.
Alvaro Enciso wakes up before sunrise to begin his trek in the Sonoran Desert, to place crosses in the exact locations where a migrant has died.
It's honoring someone's courage.
5 years ago, Enciso founded the project Los Soñadores, which means dreamers in English, after he came across a Pima County map with 3,000 red dots, each one symbolizing a migrant's life.
So I'm taking that red dot, which is an abstraction on a map, and coming here where this person was found, and leaving the red dot here as honoring the courage of this person to have walked so far away.
Out of the 700 crosses that Alvaro has left in the desert, here is just one of many by an individual who crossed named Jose Garcia Salvador Opolinar, who was found in September 14, 2006.
What happened here is not just the death of a migrant, it's a historical event.
With every cross that is placed, a moment of silence takes place, followed by a prayer.
An important life to his family.
When I go home, when someone asks me, how was your day? I say, well, it was a sad day. I put crosses for 4 people who came here looking for the American dream and failed and died.
Enciso says that his project will probably never end. It will remain incomplete because migrants will continue to die in the desert, and he says he will continue to mark the locations of those who never finished their journey.
This is just one of many humanitarian projects honoring those who've perished in the desert.
Here's a Tucson group that is using art to create awareness of those who've died in the southern Arizona desert. Organizers of the Migrant Quilt Project said they want people to see the names and not just the numbers.
A decade's worth of migrants' memories woven together on these quilts, from what was left in the desert by those who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border. The Migrant Quilt Project is a collaboration of artists and quilt makers who work together to honor migrants from Mexico and Central America who lost their lives in the southern Arizona desert.
If you look at these quilts and you look at those names, you can no longer just think about 130 people died. Suddenly it's 132 individuals. You may not know them, but they had a name.
Project members are working to prepare for a nationwide tour.
A group of high school students from Rhode Island is taking a unique tour of the Sonoran Desert, a place that most people from the East Coast don't get to see. This is what the harsh terrain in the Sonoran Desert looks like. 147 migrants died last year in the Tucson sector of the U.S.-Mexico border region. That's according to the Pima County Medical Examiner's Office. These students are on a field trip with El Otro Lado, which means the other side in Spanish. This Tucson program exposes LaSallian students from all over the country to the issues along the border. El Otro Lado director, Sister Jody Cecilia, hopes to give students enough experience to be aware of the tough situations migrants face.
They think they have it all straight in their head, and I want them to be confused because
we introduce them to a lot of things that they never considered and never even heard about, and to peoples that they didn't even realize were being affected.
This group of students comes all the way from LaSalle Academy in Rhode Island, where they might not hear much about border issues. Cecilia keeps a busy schedule for the students as they learn from humanitarian groups, Border Patrol agents, and immigration attorneys.
Each day focuses on a different theme.
On their so-called Day in the Desert, students walk the migrants' routes through the desert, and the students leave water for migrants.
The point of that is to help students realize just how difficult it is to make that journey across the desert, especially in the heat.
Student Richard Beretta says his experience was unexpected.
Cactuses and stuff were definitely bad, and hearing how immigrants will do that at night, I can't imagine doing that at night, and then even running from someone, because even just walking slow, I was still getting poked all over and stuff.
Students say their perspective has changed when they experience walking in a migrant's shoes.
How immigrants only come here for drugs, and that's really not true. They just want a better life.
The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office also says the Sonoran Desert is one of the deadliest routes along the U.S.-Mexico border for migrants. Students from Oregon will soon be coming to Arizona to experience El Otro Lado. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Noemi Salazar Mata.
Up next, we take a look at sports around Tucson, and U of A preseason Major League Soccer returns to the Old Pueblo. We'll be right back.
When I was here in the 1990s, it was about 1993, 1994, all we had was a student newspaper. I knew I wanted to work in television news, and I wish that there was more of an opportunity to learn the skills that you need to work in that industry. And I thought, well, the U of A should have a student-run television show. That would be a lot of fun, and we could report on important stories, related to the campus. And we narrowed the group down to a group of about 40 of us, and we used public access equipment back then. They had some cameras that we could borrow. They had a studio we could use, and we put together a couple of pilot shows. When I graduated from the U of A, Professor Ted Robbins came up to me and said, I'd like to take this over and incorporate it into my class, my journalism class. So at that time it became more of a real organized activity here at the U of A. When you apply for jobs in television, you need a demo reel, and so I thought that by creating a student-run television show would be a good way to put your demo reel together, to get some samples, and then just getting out there and interviewing people and editing stories together. I think it's just a really good way to practice and to see if it's really an industry that you want to go into.
Since March, the Tucson Police Department has been cracking down on drivers who text and drive. The Tucson City Council voted on the ordinance at the beginning of this year, which made holding a cell phone while driving a primary offense. Prior to the ordinance, TPD needed another reason for pulling a driver over, but now they can pull over drivers for solely holding a phone while being behind the wheel. Drivers caught for a first-time offense not relating to a traffic accident will receive a $50 fine plus almost $100 in administrative costs.
The Gem and Mineral Show is the largest convention event in Tucson, but many don't know just how much preparation goes into the event. The economic impact of the event has been increasing over the years. The most recent studies show that the two-week event brings in more than $120 million. And a spokesperson for the Gem and Mineral Show says planning for the event takes time.
To put on a show like this takes a good year, and in some respects, like publicity, I'm working 18 to 20 months out to start putting together the advertisement and things of that nature.
Event organizers are already sending invitations to dealers and museums that have the wolfenite mineral, the theme for next year's show.
For the 7th consecutive year, preseason Major League Soccer action returns to Arizona. 11 teams from the MLS came down to the state to participate in the Mobile Mini Sun Cup, a one-month tournament hosted by FC Tucson and Phoenix Rising. According to Brent Dorad of Visit Tucson, last year's tournament helped Tucson's economy, adding that teams spent over $1.5 million locally, and the numbers don't include fans, like MJ Bonilla, who says he's been coming to the tournament every year.
Yeah, we are making sure I come every year, try to make it to every game, bring the kids out, bring the nephew and nieces out as well. So we definitely try to check it out. It's the easiest way to watch professionals.
The newly opened section of the Pima County Loop that connects the greater Tucson area is getting residents of Pima County out and active. With more than 120 miles of paved pathways with bike lanes, the Loop offers a safe place for walkers, bikers, and horseback riders.
The Loop serves the county's healthy population goals. We try to get people to be more active, be out and be using the Loop. It serves our transportation goals. There's a lot of commuters who use the Loop, either by bike or by foot to get back and forth to work.
The Loop is an eco-friendly way to get around the county, offering connections to entertainment venues, restaurants, and major parks.
Right off the Loop path is the Rillito Park Racetrack. At the start of this year, a new 5-year extension went underway at the Rillito Park Racetrack. Rillito is home to the first quarter horse track in the world. Although Pima County wanted to move the racetrack to the county fairgrounds to create more soccer fields, after years of battling, a decision has been made to keep the racetrack running under a new contract. General Manager Michael Weiss says the county and racetrack are now working together to make the place a multi-use facility.
We're going to get through the next 4 years that we have left and prove that we are supposed to be here in a great part of Tucson, and I believe we will have a long future just like we had a long past.
The racetrack marked its 75th anniversary this past February. Weiss says the new contract includes funding for annual renovations to help modernize the track.
That's all we have for this episode of Arizona Cat's Eye, a news magazine produced by students at the University of Arizona School of Journalism.
For more Arizona Cat's Eye stories, you can check us out on our YouTube channel under Arizona Cat's Eye. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks for joining us.
And bear down.
Cat's Eye this semester was
opportunistic.
It's definitely motivating.
Awesome.
Hard work. Dedication.
Family, that's what describes Cat's Eye.
I'd say its ability to, go out and tell stories that really you might not be able to tell anywhere else.
I really like the group environment we have. It's a really small team, but it's like a real newsroom. And I like being able to tell our own stories, and our teachers are always there to help, but we're really on our own.
Everything about Cat's Eye was the way that it taught me to put stories together and go into the community and be able to find stories. Definitely taught me a lot as a journalist.
This is
Arizona Cat's Eye.